to see you. What's your name?
I'm Matthew.
Matthew, Lisa. Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
What's in my glass?
Bryn.
Got you, dog.
Hey.
What's up? I was excited when I saw your name.
Yeah, me too. I was excited.
Bryn, can I get my guest here?
Steven. I
Steven.
didn't realize it actually.
Yeah.
Good dog.
Yeah, We're just so I famous. think
This is fine art, and it's fine.
This is very fine.
It's real.
Fine art China. Sorry, I don't really have
We have glasses.
I know.
I've never gotten water before. Like, this is a huge step up. Oh my god.
It was the perfect day. All day I was working inside, and I was like, I want to go outside. I didn't think I'd make it. Good. Here we are. For the class.
Nick, I got you.
Nice to meet you too.
I'll wait till our table's full and then I'll just...
I think Erin ordered it.
Yeah, I thought that you might enjoy that.
That's not his face.
Lisa, we're also going to be doing some bottle spinning tonight. Would it be possible for you to demand that?
I'll spin. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll sting. I thought there was no solo. It's okay. I think, obviously.
The little pork is exciting.
It's been a while.
Cool. Maybe now that we've got a full table, we'll start. Good? Okay, cool. All right. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming to our dinner this evening. Thank you to the people from BBQLA for putting this on. And yeah, so I wanted to introduce you first to this concept of a Jeffersonian dinner, which is what you're finding yourself in the midst of right now, whether you knew you were or not. So in this case, I've assembled guests. Look, I'll start by talking about the historical reference for the Jeffersonian dinner. I'm not going to lean too hard on the legacy of Thomas Jefferson because he's an imperialist and a shithead. In fact, this evening I'm just going to be being a Jefferson airplane. But so somehow he got his name tacked to this concept of a dinner in which up to 12 guests would be invited to speak on one topic. So the idea would be that the guests didn't necessarily know one another, that in fact they probably wouldn't share a similar, any sort of crossover, other than a desire to, a passion for the topic on which they'd be presenting. Yeah, so part of the idea was also that instead of allowing for kind of individual discussion between guests, that all the guests would participate in one topic, that there wouldn't be kind of asides or side conversations, but that we would all be able to contribute to this one conversation. So we're operating in the spirit of this tradition this evening for our blabbercue. IN. The moderator usually plays a more passive or a more active role, but I'm going to be sort of passive in this regard, kind of yielding the floor to these artists as they are presenting on different topics related to art jargon. So why art jargon? Art jargon is kind of it's supposed to be something that helps artists communicate with one another, but it's usually something that we could think of as maybe unintentionally oblique language that makes art difficult to understand. So in this particular instance, I've asked these artists to choose a piece of art jargon that they'd like to take in their crosshairs and sort of deconstruct or present in their own way for the evening. Yeah, so that we can just use that language as our content as well as something that we use to kind of break down our content. So my process for the evening will be maybe one of the best sort of divining processes that we've developed as a culture, which will be spinning the bottle. And in that order, I'll ask people to present on their topics. And so I would ask you to state your name and say what word you're presenting on this evening. Good? Okay, cool. So Lisa, would you do the honor of spinning the bottle?
It's a little sticky.
Fruitopia.
That was a tough spin, but I think that's you.
It looks like everyone has an official document. I'm Breanne Trammel. I'm here from Cincinnati, and my term was casual institution. And I picked it from a list, and I thought, oh, that sounds really fun. And then over the last 2 weeks, I was like, oh shit, this is actually really hard. Because it's actually the casual institution of everything and nothing. The casual institution of not knowing. The casual institution of unknowing. The casual institution of nowhere. The casual institution of now where. The casual institution of snacks. The casual institution of sandwich. The casual institution of a t-shirt. The casual institution of a bootleg t-shirt. The casual institution of a bumper sticker. The casual institution of the lost cat seeking companion tabbed flyer. The casual institution of crying in public. The casual institution of nothing being casual right now. So we're going to individually and then collectively create a casual institution of all of these documents. So if you could take a moment to think about what you'd like to personally declare as an institution. It could be a state of mind, an object, a memory, a reminder, a challenge, a call, or a response. So we're going to do that for the next couple of minutes. And then towards the end of this dinner, if you all want to share your document, I'll make a photocopy of it with my copy machine that I brought. And I'll collate all of them into a publication to create a very non-casual archive of casual institutions. gonna casually set a timer. You'll notice at the bottom there's a space for you to certify or institute your institution, and then there's 2 spaces for your neighbor to sign off on it to sort of bear witness to the forming of the institution.
Thanks for saying that. I like that. Way back. Oh, yeah, you have to sign mine. Oh, shit. This is good. I've been about that.
I just like there's tons of walnuts on there.
100% about it.
Yeah.
Urban Fruit.
Urban Fruit. Exactly. Oh, I think so.
Oh, yeah.
I do not claim ownership over this institute.
You're never supposed to.
Another neighbor. It's my left-hand neighbor. Good?
I just love signing.
So,
Please feel free to
it feels very
steal my
official.
idea.
Who's this?
That you did, you regret that.
Is this a person?
Yes.
They're just not here.
That's
Oh.
He'll present.
Who's Mark?
This person?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes.
Is
This is so good. Hey, what are you? Unquestioned tenderness.
What does it say? What do you
I think it's made me
help each other.
Regrets? We should have a conversation.
Be careful, you two.
I have a workbook for you.
Sometimes institutions need each other. We make each other viable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Solvents?
Oh, good.
I love how I signed off and I read it and then I was like, what? You need them.
I'll just let you know that I'm continuing my cold salad research in this fall event. Kind
Green
of
walnut
renewed my
husk is your
interest in-
favorite smell.
I've never thought about smelling.
Lisa, could you please notarize this for me?
Yes, sir.
I have a 5-gallon bucket at home, so
Loud.
fermented walnuts for a dime.
Yes, I
It's
started
just
making
like so-
avocado dye because of
I think that we
Julia
could
Davis.
join
One
our
of the squirrels chewed the bucket up to try and get it.
It's crazy. Like, it would have made me
You
sick.
guys are good luck.
Maybe not.
Probiotic.
For squirrels?
Yeah.
Maybe you should market that. The first probiotic for squirrels.
Walnut water.
Probiotics for dogs.
This is a very nice
I love the document.
Yeah, it's so vibrant.
Where did they go?
Purple on neon orange.
This is
Oh, mercy, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd go close to that.
It's nice to have credentials
57 seconds left.
to show off to people you're trying to sleep with.
your signature is really good.
Man, I see your potential.
I'm ready. I'm not worried about it anymore. Especially when I know that bond. Watch me do that.
Yeah.
I'm like, I found out the way to
Go in on that.
I took a materials class.
First and last.
That makes a lot of sense.
Wouldn't that be fucked up if I could get myself?
I think it's person who rolls.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe people could sort of pass them into
I'm just gonna sit farther back.
like passive things.
That way,
Make an audience member go. I'm going to transcend my responsibility as an artist and pass over to an audience member.
So if you've finished filling out your official document,
That's how that works.
if you're willing to share them and let me make a photocopy of it, if you could pass it to the end of your row, and then I'll collect them. Then you can pick them up at the end.
the color shop is one
Yeah, we need a better
This is the salad dressing bottle.
Did you hear me try to cheat the bottle? I'm like, it sticks on the table, so I felt like I would never get pinned.
Yeah.
And then I would spin it, and then it would be like me.
Yeah. I'm having some trouble with the longness of the table.
I'm afraid I'm going to spin
sort
it
of
too hard.
Why?
Just lean back and it's not you.
Are you the spinner, or is it who's next? Whoever went just now.
Oh, yeah, probably. Oh, that's a much nicer spin.
Oh, is this our new one?
Yeah.
The specificity that it'll land from it.
Yeah. This one's sticky, so
Yeah.
it stops itself.
Yeah, I know. That's good. All right, and I think once our documents have all been gathered, we could figure out our next presenter for the evening.
Okay, here we go. Should it spinning responsibility or
It seems like you're at a good central.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Don't take out the hams.
The hums.
The hams.
The hums.
Hums of love are
Yeah, way better torque.
Is that?
Oh, that's it.
That's
Neither.
A, yeah.
There you go.
I jinxed myself.
You did bring it up.
I kept
The
bringing it up.
anticipation's wild.
So if you could state your name and the preparer.
I have a PA system. Hello? Can everyone hear me? Pretty well. My time hasn't started yet. I have to get up. Hi, my name is A. Bowden. My term is actuality footage, and I tried to write a poem within the format of that, because normally it's a documentary style. All right. This is called a neo-Libra theory of the end of the world, and it's also called a list of people by name, but it's not about either of these things. The color line is the center point of refusal. Killer bees are the only bees left in Arizona. A shift in policy comes once you recognize, and in horror cannot recover from the fact you recognize. You are being treated to our means, are being treated like us now too, and that's absolutely not chill. A shift in policy comes once you recognize. This is similar to me personally mourning the dogs that pass away on a Facebook page called Old Friends Senior Dog Sanctuary. In a video I watched earlier this week, there was a white man in it. He is being restrained at an airport. He gets pepper sprayed by the police for him telling them to get him a new flight or to arrest him. They begin to arrest him since he gave them the option, but he starts resisting. They pin him to the ground. I start to think how strange it is I've never seen a body be pinned to or on anything, and when I do, I tend to give it a biblical context. Accountability, removal by force. This man is a doctor, my God. These are a few of my favorite things. He starts screaming naturally. You're treating me like a black person. I have a bad habit of saying first of all and not saying or making a second point. And see, all my friends tell me not to despair. They try to validate me and say it may be harder for me than most, but honestly, I doubt it. I am here for the commons in a heartfelt way. I am here for emotional labor that has a realized touch and is not just poetic about its way. If being kind was the root of your resistance, I am laughing. It's more like a throw of a body during hanging. Circumnavigation is my metaphor for anxious attachment. So what though? Isn't that nice? Really? I'm laughing. You think you're helping me, but you're inserting me into emotional, common areas that you want to function under your ideal conditions for your own growth. Yet I say yes, yet I try. I do my best to take it as a compliment for my double less greatness. Amen. How long can you build a brand off of others' desire and vulnerability to be cared for? Reactionary, DIY. I am so happy to be here, God willing. You're treating me like a black person. He, the man in the video, speaks naturally. The absorbent nature within the veil of the infinite burial suit. It comes in 3 sizes, and each of the 2 pieces costs $1,500 each. Only the medium size is still available. 4A. Black is everlasting. And I thank God, who's in the form of my mother, father, my father somewhere on leave. Black is everlasting. You cannot tell if he's the man in the video, or if the man in the video is angry about being treated to control of his body by forces that address and respond with force automatically to his body for the first time. It's actually kind of funny. I like calling things little ones. I take a plant in my hand off the trail and pull up. The pods catch within my grip and I hold them out for you to take. I call the disappointingly scentless lavender. You little ones, but I don't actually. You made me cry in front of him, and then I made him cry to spare both of us something everlasting and blissful. It was summer, wasn't it? Isn't that what I do? This is a situation where an aura camera would be useful. The halo looks like something like a salt lamp. Africanized bees, for example, disembowel themselves once they sting a target. This releases pheromones to alert all the other bees in the hive to attack immediately. Afterward, at night when one speaks, they conjure toward them unbiased living conditions. The worst scent, I think, is a visibly clean sink that when you run water smells like toothpaste and spit. The bees sense out their target because of a similar scent. They are attracted to the mouth because of its breathing, the pure rage of his, and this kind of realization for everyone, paired with the general exposure to the truth that most encounters with militarized force usually come to agreed upon no thank you. This becomes a new thing we cannot put up with. These are not fun times. He acts as we witness him becoming the mouthpiece for our new instant witnessing. Thank you. He, with his body being under submission, lends itself to us for the convenient uprising of white activism. On my walk to work or home in the dark, I make sure to walk near storefronts just for the cameras. In the future, if we're sensible, the desecration of the black body will not only be expected but profitable. I will bankroll an organ donation program for the bodies and souls taken by extreme violence, and it will be a feel-good story on some BuzzFeed-like website. I hope the story is compatible with optical hologram devices. The middle of a community they don't go to unless they work at or participate in more acceptable forms of a militarized force. When I'm in an SUV with 4 of my friends, at some point they all start talking about how they've been caught with some amount of whatever drug, and all the cop did was dump it out and let them go. What do most of my friends believe in? It's mostly things they cannot back up or speak about due to the inexperience. Under cover of my presence, you can talk about the decriminalization of weed and less roundabouts and socialism. Because obviously, all I want to talk about are bodies and labor. I am reclaiming this space. Migration is not meant to be a recovery effort. You are probably unwanted in whatever community you will go to. It is easy to use Google these days to find out all sorts of things. Like what you've done and what you're trying to covertly do under the guise of a roadshow. What other migratory patterns of privilege are there? White power sign on a leader's forearm. Ted Bundy in Colorado. Me fleeing my eventual murder in all these Midwest cities. Aftermath. I love to take up space. I don't know why this bothered me so much. Conflict-free words like yes disembowel me. How do I tell them that I believe any system they build for anyone will be poisonous, while there are bodies like mine within it that can do without your midwifing? Your gatekeeping has made me a more efficient killer. How do I tell them to sit out of a restructuring? Easy. Sit down. You already saw what your intentions do. White guilt is you feeling the heat of your potential homegrown terrorism and weighing how often you want to pull from this inheritance. Refusal is an order to submit at a later time, which is okay too. It is normally something you ease into. I wonder what the phenomena of this decade is. I bet it is the rising number of wildlife re-entering suburban areas. A friend speaks on animals who wander into roads. Says something in their blood remembers the woods here. Generational claim to wander back to where you belong, but were never wanted. Sickening setup of any land. Timeline from sundown town to gentrification. A deer hits you with your own car. The heat of its breath sounds like laughing as steam rolls off your blood, stomps a hoof on your throat to spare you. Thank you.
Environment. I have a few handouts. Some people might have to share. Sure. Do you guys want to share?
Yeah,
We can share.
Participants of the dinner if they have any questions about the publication that she has. I will read it.
I don't know what that means. Like that. Like the choking is retails
Or the fake
yeah, like
person.
the action of the
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
That's my first
As
question.
per your request, I posed to the participants of the dinner if they have any questions about your zine to ask, but also should we open it up to all the other folks? For sure. So upon perusing Anna's publication, if you have any questions, the artist has generously offered to answer.
My word is built environment as well.
I have a question.
Yes.
On this page where it says extremely over retailed, is the method or like the action over retailed where it's like choking the person, or is the body over retailed?
The body is over retail. So my feeling in the ultimate built environment, which is a mall, is that we are constantly bombarded by images and the whole environment is led to get us to buy things. So, extremely over-retailed. Yes.
Anna, I have a question. Are these pictures that you took at the mall that you work at, or that you found elsewhere?
Some are found, and most are at the mall that I work at, which is Castleton Square. If you ever want to stop by. Question.
What is your favorite mall-based movie or scenes from mall? Mall scenes from
No.
Mall
No. Man, I'm gonna think a little bit on that.
Okay, get back to me.
I will.
You could tag it.
Yes.
How do you feel about the new body measurements of mannequins?
They're extremely unrealistic. I've always felt that, like, it's the ideal body and it's being kind of shoved in our faces, but at the same time, what the people are asking for is more of what looks like them, and it's still very clumsily done with plus-size mannequins. It's not okay. And then also the clothes aren't really tailored. The clothes are just the same clothes made bigger and not actually considering the body or the person that's going to be living in them.
How have you had much interaction with human mannequins?
No, I haven't. I thought of one. Mannequin. Mannequin's my favorite mall-based movie, where they come to life. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Can you talk about who made the statement "clothes mean nothing"?
That is a found image from Instagram. So I work at H&M, and it is a shot of an H&M where the quote is cut off that says "clothes mean nothing," and they put little quotes all the time that are like, "Oh, buy this now," or like, "We'll have more online." And I was really intrigued by what that could have been, but what it actually says, where it's really like none of this means anything. Yes.
Do you think it would be a better move for mannequins to adopt proportions that are more like realistic, or would a better move be? This is a weighted question. How about mannerist mannequins? Would that be a better move?
Yeah, I think so. But my feeling is I don't think we need the mannequins anymore. I think the clothes themselves reference the body enough that we don't really need to be shown how to wear things. But because it's all lumping us into the same category, or making us all one person instead of an individual.
How do you think malls will adapt on online shopping?
They either do or they don't, I think is what we're kind of experiencing now. The stores that are going out of business aren't adapting with the movement, and the ones that are really catering to the convenience of the customer.
Does gallery space to relay some of this at the feet of art? Because a lot of these look like that could be really cool.
Yeah, I think the mall and the art gallery are both kind of connected in a sense, except I think the mall is a better art gallery.
How do you feel about the support structure for artists in Indianapolis?
I personally feel that institutions themselves don't do us any favors, but I've been seeing a community of people who have been supporting each other. It's kind of both. I was more thinking with the plastic of like being protected, or something is like out of reach, like you can't have that body. Are you trying to ask a question? Oh, it's
What do you think of the use of social media by retailers?
again, it's kind of like an art thing. Like it's more of a performance in clothes. Like you're still selling a lifestyle, you're still selling the article of clothing, but they try to trick you by presenting it in a more artful way.
Is there any interaction or collaboration between different stores within, for example, your mall?
Not really.
Or like exchange of mannequins?
No, it's all very internal. We're all very separate. Like it's a competition in a sense, but we all share the same space.
Don't you just love fake plants?
Yes, I love fake plants.
Ooh.
Yes.
What's your favorite way to clean fake
The Swiffer duster?
Each leaf?
Yeah, each leaf.
Pro move.
Will you be putting these in the bags with H&M
I should.
to distribute them?
I should. Yes.
If H&M uses your aesthetic and individual art practice as a means to make their products hip and appeal to people, how will you feel about that, and how would you like to be compensated if you would allow it and compensate it?
I don't think I'd allow it. The funny thing is I actually take from their aesthetic. So they throw away a lot of stuff, which is incredibly wasteful. So I use all of their props and things that they would normally throw away to create my art. So if they took that back from me, I'd be giving it back to them.
Recycling.
It would be recycling.
Who was that sleeping on a job?
No, it was a customer.
Yeah?
Yeah. So the environment's for you
Hard
to
choices.
use at your leisure.
Sometimes you just don't get enough sleep.
I know at least back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, they based mannequins on actual humans.
Yeah.
Do you know if they still do that?
No.
No, they don't.
No, they don't base them on actual
Yeah, I
humans.
have a cabin in my.
Can you sort of like flesh out like how you come to think or like how you believe that like the mall is like the ultimate built environment?
Because it's designed around it's designed around coordinating human experience. So it thinks about the person that's moving through it, but then again, it's trying to trick you into spending money. But it's also like you can sleep there if you wish. You can eat there. You can spend your entire day there. Like you can meet friends. Like it's a lot more social than just walking around this building looking at things. And that's why I think it's the ultimate built environment.
How do you know that mannequins are no longer built on actual human bodies? And if, when did that change take place in the industry?
I'm not sure when it took place, but as a person that takes apart mannequins all the time, it sounds really creepy, but the waist is about this big, and there's no rib cage, really. It's kind of just I don't know, it's very small. Yes. Yes.
I believe the most famous model for a mannequin would have been Twiggy.
Oh, really?
So maybe it's possible they still make them.
It is possible.
I'd like to respond to that.
Yes.
Having dressed a mannequin that we borrowed from you over and over, it is deceptively misproportioned because the waist is tiny, but it's circular.
Yeah.
The chest
it's
is
like Barbie, right?
Everything is circular.
Yeah.
So there were sports bras we were pulling onto them that didn't fit, or a blouse that didn't fit, and then it would just be gone, so I don't believe that mannequins are based on Twiggy. I think they're if you take a cross section, they're circular in a weird way, surprising way. In my experience.
Are malls dying? Well, I feel like when I was young, they were highly attended as a social space.
Yeah.
And I don't know, are young people utilizing them in the same way that we did when we were teenagers?
Some, yes. I feel like it's location. There was such a boom in malls being built that a lot of outlying malls are kind of dying. I mean, the anchor stores aren't there anymore, and then no one will fill any of the vacancies. But at least here, from my knowledge, the mall I work at and the one downtown are they're hanging on. It's a matter of time because we'll see how they adapt to online purchasing that experience.
Do you feel that built environments are inherently like controlling or manipulative?
Yes.
I guess why? Like why and who bears that burden of this?
Who bears the burden?
The burden of like I guess like realizing that or because manipulation is like especially onto another being is like, pretty controlling.
It is. I think, at least in the terms of a mall, that I spend time in it for a different reason than other people. I can kind of see a little bit, like I kind of bear that burden where I'm like, you don't really need to be here. Like, this isn't something that you need to do, you know? There's other ways of clothing yourself that may be healthier, like less, you know, trying to trick you, I guess. So I feel like in that sense a lot of retail workers feel that burden, but then a lot don't at the same time. It's still like a job that people just come to and make money and don't care. And there are people who are really into it that think they're, you know, being nice, like customer service is a nice thing. But to me it's kind of like you don't, like I'm being nice to you, but I'm not helping you fulfill like who you need to be, essentially.
What do you say to the person who keeps messing up your new fold?
I actually stopped saying anything. It's just, I don't, like I care, but then again I'm like, I shouldn't think I'm doing this for myself because I'm not at the same time, so.
But as an artist, how do you sort of operate within that system? How do you respond, like, as an employee? Like, do you do things to sort of subvert the corporation or, like, have interactions with people? And do you see your role, do you ever sort of frame it as, like, it being a residency, like, artist, you know? Like,
yeah, kind of. It's like, I feel like I try to give people other options than necessarily the store. So referring them to other people and other things to do. But like as an artist, I feel like the thing I most equate to like a museum is kind of the window where it's like a locked case where no one can get in, and it's just kind of like that's the vision of it. So that would be like my artsy side, kind of getting into it. But in terms of like people or like trying to subvert the system, I like to remind the company what they're doing wrong. Even as being like a very small person in a very big company, they've made a lot of mistakes. And I'm like, oh, remember that time when we made a really racist hoodie? That was really funny. Like, I'm not gonna let you forget it. Or when you tried to steal like an artist's graffiti work, like I try to at least remind them that like we're not gonna get over that. So.
And I'm just thinking about like Mannequin when they sort of like shift the displays and like tiny gestures, you know, like disruption.
Somebody behind me.
Okay, you.
How do you feel as do you feel like you're performing while you're there?
Yeah.
And is there any like do you ever like take on a persona that you don't necessarily like immediately like this is me, but like I just want to try this out? Like,
yeah, I feel like I overcompensate being more feminine in a sense. Like I make my voice higher because I feel like my voice is inherently unfriendly, my face is inherently unfriendly, so like I'm performing this act of like being a nice person when like I know I'm a generally nice person. It's just not written on it's not like the normal way to be nice to people. I don't like when people come visit me. Like that I know it worked because it's like I'm in that zone where it's like I only really say like 5 things all day. Hello, thank you, your total is, goodbye. And then like a friend comes in and I'm just like completely petrified to like turn that off. And I always kind of need time like after work to sort of decompress and like remember like I'm not that person anymore.
Is it
One more.
Is it the responsibility of retail to make us better people?
as long as we look good doing it.
Yeah.
Well, I just thought it was interesting because you were saying, you know, that you're not really care, that we don't really care about when we're talking.
Dad joke.
I don't know if it's the responsibility of retail to make us better people. I don't know.
Right. But if it
That's the
was,
issue, right?
but if we gave like all control away to the retailer, like too. Like,
Oh,
what
but we do.
Right, but like, but more so. I don't know. It's kind of interesting that like they have control, but we feel like they don't have control. We're kind of doing this like limbo
It's the
game.
whole game.
It's the whole game.
Whole game.
Well, thanks for the questions, everybody.
Should we get another round of drinks? Take a little break
Anybody
and then
like
get
a
into the next round of
Just a little break.
stuff? Bathroom break? Oh. Yeah, let's take a 5-minute break and then
Put on
reconvene.
the chance.
Let's jam.
Anybody need a drink? I'm gonna go find out where they are. Where are they?
Kitchen.
What'd you drink?
Let's like coordinate more.
Wine.
Whatever they want. Yeah.
That was fun.
All right, welcome back to BBQLA. Can you hear me now? Thank you for joining us for the second part of our evening. There was a discussion of starting with a toast as we just kind of get back into parsing our art jargon in the only ways we know how. So does anyone... Actually, I think this would be a good opportunity to maybe source from the crowd. Does anyone have like a favorite toast? I've been collecting toasts for some time. If you don't have a toast, I have a go-to, but...
What are you talking about?
Do you have a favorite toast?
Like cheers?
Like cheers, yeah.
I'm the only one again. You got me twice. Greatest hit.
Favorite toast, anybody? So one option is that any Kanye lyric works as a toast. Try me. The second is, you can take a moment and think about one and propose it to me. I'll wait.
The Homs.
We on an ultralight beam.
We on an ultralight beam. Cheers. All right. So I'll be presenting our colleague Bryn Jackson's presentation this evening. Bryn can't join us in the flesh, but he's looking great tonight. So I'll just be reading his statement. So he said, to everyone participating in and bearing witness to this presentation, I cannot express how much it pains me not to be able to join you this evening. I've been looking forward to this event since July, and it's unfortunate that I'm unable to actively participate. I've been thinking quite a lot about how to properly frame this particular performance. Institutional critique, which is his term, a practice that emerged from minimalism conceptual art and that is largely associated with pro-structuralism. Wikipedia, what's good, is such an insider's game that the tools that generally make this kind of work accessible are, themselves, inaccessible to a certain degree. And what kind of art is it then if you need a PhD in order to grasp it? Don't get me wrong, I love the work of Hans Hockey and Andrea Fraser, but it's important to note that queer folks and people of color have been critical of the institutional power structures that are central to their oppression for as long as we've been oppressed. And I would argue the very inaccessibility of these deconstructive tools signifies the role academia plays in the continuation of the colonial project. As such, I'd encourage each of you to be critical of the institutions that you navigate. Critique plainly, critique openly, critique often. So what the hell am I doing taking all these selfies at Newfields? Well, there are a few reasons. I won't spell it out. First and foremost, as an artist, I put a lot of trust in my audience. My intention is never to alienate, but to invite. The museum's history is publicly available, and I encourage each of you to check out our library when you get a chance. I also invite you to look into the ways in which Snapchat has been a racist as hell for lols. For real though, it's fucked up. Secondly, because I'm a curator at the museum, it's unclear as to what extent I can or may be critical of the institution outside its walls. Challenging the institution and thinking critically about the narratives that we put forth, the communities we represent, and the practices by which we operate is what I do for a living. I'm also representative of a brand and must act in its best interests, which is why I invite you to engage, reach out, speak up, call us out on our practices, tell us what you see. We want to know how we can better serve you as a community because you are the community that we aim to represent. Be critical of anyone who claims to represent you, and do so with any and every tool you have available to you. Lastly, I invite each of you to contact me. I love talking about art. I almost never get tired of it. I look at everything that makes its way in my inbox. Enjoy the rest of the festivities. Nick, Danielle, Erin, maybe take lots of photos for me? We're working on it. All the best, Bryn Jackson. Should we spin the bottle and pick our next participant? Yeah.
I'll go. All right. Hello, colleagues. Gathered people. Danielle? Oh, thank you. My word, my jargon is problematic. And I would like to begin with a disclosure that my presentation refers to slavery appropriation, has some visual components to that. So I wanted to put that out there in case anyone doesn't feel like being exposed to that. I would not blame you. How do I... Okay. Alright. Full size. Problematic. Popular jargon right now. How do I just go like that? When first there was a printing press, it must have caused the monks some stress to watch the Holy Spirit go from each hand-gilded Chi and Rho. When Eli made the cotton gin, they're selling twice what they had been, enslaving black folks even more than bringing on the Civil War. The Gatling gun, the Model T, muskets and horses wept for thee. Turtle-necked Stephen Jobs, assembly lines, and union mobs. From Abacus to Amazon, industry marches on and on. And they all cried, except the slaves, there'll be no work to do one day. All this talk of automation brings us up to problemation. Because like I'm saying lots of times, there's reason in it if it rhymes. For centuries of Western art, you needed this to get the part. That's actually a self-portrait of Michelangelo. I was looking at self-portraits of white male artists. But it's also like a sack of white male skin. I just really giggled at that. Without it, though on museum walls, you couldn't come to cannonballs. That's quite the problem there. Were all these artists unaware? Perhaps, but really busy too, finding more problems to do. This is a cartoon by Ad Reinhardt. He's like a field painter, abstract, flat stuff. And he also did these cartoons. Collapsing panes, gestalting war, dematerializing floor. The piece is all, the public awed. The artist is a demigod. What, how, why, in every way, they started asking who one day. Let me take off. Here's the undramatic part. I've made problematic art, and I'm very sorry. I've realized I took advantage of some colleagues' trust to be edgy, and I was protected by my privilege from the consequences they endured, even though it had not been their action or their decision. I'm realizing it was not an unintentional error in judgment, since through my pursuit of edginess and escapism, I had allowed a concept of a group of people I was engaging with to remain stunted and romanticized rather than grow at this opportunity to engage. I'm working on making sure I don't do a thing like that again by listening and thinking harder, more carefully and more creatively about who I am, who the public are, who other artists are, and the millions of things we mean to each other with curiosity and awareness. Besides making you crazy, this is straight artistic laziness. Or Dana Schutt's for solemn thrill, appropriating Mamie Till. A new frontier to work and live makes some white artists sensitive. This I found, it's a crying boy, a painting of a crying boy that survived a fire and freaked everybody out. And that's because I Googled crying white boy artist. So I thought that was really funny. The art was near, the artist far, but now it matters who you are. Thank you.
Do you want to do a thumb more?
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
If I said a 3.
So wait, hold on. What's the illustration?
1, 2, 3, shoot.
I thought there was a shoe sign, and I was like, I don't know.
Alright, so you got
Wait, before we go again. Does the loser go first or the winner go first?
Loser goes first.
I say winner gets to choose. Right?
1, 2, 3, shoot. It's 1 and 1. It's getting tense.
It's like we're playing.
Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3, shoot. What are you doing, karate? That's a karate chop.
Yeah.
I'll go next.
Can I ask
since
Lisa though, what do you mean about problematic art?
Everything.
Can you narrow your question down?
What do you think problematic art is?
Well, I put some examples to help with that. And it is a jargon term in the list because it is used a lot. But a part that I didn't get to fit in the list that might help you understand my direction with it was I Googled the word problemation before I started that because I knew I wanted to make this like thing. And there was this article in a 1976 issue of Computer World that talked about building like code for software and like early computers, and knowing that you were, say, you knew you could get away with like only allowing a certain number of digits for like a dollar amount because you're probably not going to exceed that. But if you do exceed that, it's going to crash your system. So it was a really funny article that talked about, I think I have some copies of it in here. I was going to hand it out. But it was a really funny article, kind of sassy, that talked about the ego you had to bring on and sort of like, you know, just like get defensive, you know, act like you were aware, or like it doesn't matter and there's a certain margin of error and all that. It just had a lot in common with like conversations around an artist makes a work of art and it just like steps on or haunts or does all this stuff. And a typical response, there's a few typical responses from white artists and myself included when I did something that was hurtful, which is either like I didn't know, so I don't, or that's not my intention, or I did mean it and it doesn't matter. So I guess that's what I'm referring to when I talk about problematic art, and my thesis there was that the idea of problemation is an evolution of art, and if it does get pulled into the canon, or maybe we just like shit out the canon. I don't know what the canon even is really, except so it's a way that we can all grow and actually become less lazy and more engaged with consciousness and being alive and thinking. Did that answer your question? If anybody wants to read this weird computer article.
Really excellent point though. Paper covers rock, so I think you won.
Oh, you did win.
Yeah. So you get to decide if you go first or second.
You know what it was? It was like a really intense paper that read as a karate.
I was just like, I was just like, hey, Brock's gonna rip through that.
I know. I got all weird about the shoe thing.
Yeah,
anyway,
it's cool. No, you're right.
So
I totally.
I kind of want to go.
Yeah, go for it.
My name's Ben. I got appropriation, or I chose appropriation. Can I take that now?
That'd be cool.
Can I just slide some stuff over?
Yeah.
Hold on a minute. Hold on. I'm gonna do this. I do actually want the light.
On?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I just want to make people
More of a
see.
stage, yeah.
Thanks. Speaking of white, so never alert. Never alerts are bad. So like I said, I got appropriation. I chose appropriation. I love appropriation. And I figured maybe the best way to talk about appropriation was to appropriate a bunch of stuff, and then make everybody do that. I thought it'd be appropriate. So there's a lot of dad jokes coming. Just get ready. So I wrote a play. I wrote a short one-act play. It's not going to take too long, I swear to God. So please, pass the plays around. Please take one, thank you very much. So, I wrote a one-act play, like I said. These words are not my own. They belong to others. I will carry them, they belong to me. This play is titled Guest Right. It is comprised entirely of appropriated materials, so all of the characters, all of the lines, all the references are from other sources. They're not my own. You'll notice when you look through the play that there are a couple of characters that are fictional that do not exist. Characters like Albus Dumbledore. Albus Dumbledore is not going to be here during this performance because he's a fictional character. I wish he was. I wish he was here right now. I'd like to see his old wizardy beard. But I believe that appropriation is it's a political act, but I think it's also an intimate act. I think the things we appropriate as artists usually come from our own consumption of pop culture. And I think pop culture is this kind of like collective stew that everybody shares in a kind of lazy and potentially subversive and freeing way, which is why I chose a lot of the sources that I chose. So in this play, there's sources from weird Baltic dinner rituals, mythology, but also like children's stories, popular film, popular fiction, so on and so forth. So all of these characters that are listed that are fictional characters from popular culture, I believe that they will be present during this performance, and I believe that we can conjure them with our collective relationship to this culture. But there are two characters in particular in this play that will be present physically. The first character is named Artist. This evening I will be playing the character of Artist. Surprise. There's also another character. The second character that has speaking lines in this play is the character called You. You will be playing the role of you tonight. I mean all of you, or any of you, some of you, please. So as I go through this bit of Reader's Theater, I implore you to follow along with me and speak the words when they are needed and respond the way that is most needful. I can't do it without you. I open. If you do not wear the spectacles, the brightness and the glory of the city would blind you. Even those that live in the city must wear the spectacles night and day. They are locked on, and I have the only key.
Words are my inexhaustible source.
To avoid any form of resurrection, the beast will have each limb tied to a horse. Each horse will be driven in a different direction, thus tearing the werewolf apart. We do not take chances, not in our time. Its head will be skewered and placed upon a pike until, in its final stages of decay, it can look at us no longer. No one among us has seen its fur rescind back into its roots, its paws uncurl into fingers, its spine crack and curve into a more fragile version of itself. And if it was, at one time, a man, or a woman, or a child, is there anyone here in the crowd that would miss it? Let the weary stranger who seeks refreshment keep silent with sharpened hearing. With his ears let him listen and look with his eyes. Thus each wise man spies out the way. Once I eaten his board, I was protected. The laws of hospitality are old and sacred. Here you are my guest, and safe and harmless. Once I'd eaten his board, I was protected. The laws of hospitality are old and sacred. Here you are my guest. You are safe and harm in my hands. Once I'd eaten his board, I was protected. The laws of hospitality are old and sacred. Here you are my guest. You are safe and harm in my hands. Once I'd eaten at his board, I was protected. The laws of hospitality are old and sacred. Here you are my guest. You are safe and harm in my hands. The laws of hospitality are old and sacred. Once I'd eaten his board, I was protected. Here you are my guest. And safe and harm in my hands. Once I'd eaten his board, I was protected. The laws of hospitality are old and sacred. Here you are my guest. And safe from harm. Once I'd eaten his board, I was protected. The laws of hospitality are old and sacred. Here you are my guest. And safe from harm. Once I'd eaten his board, I was protected. The laws of hospitality are old and sacred. Here you are my guest. And safe from harm. Once I eaten at his board, I was protected. The laws of hospitality are old and sacred. Here you are my guest. And safe from harm. Once I eaten at his board, I was protected. The laws of hospitality are old and sacred. Here you are my guest. And safe from harm.
Yes.
Once I'd eaten at his board, I was protected. The laws of hospitality are old and sacred. Once I had eaten his board, I was protected. The laws of hospitality are old and sacred. Here you are my guest. And safe from harm. Once I eaten his board, I was protected. Here you are my guest. Safe from harm. Once I eat his board, I was protected. The laws of hospitality are old. Here you are my guest. Safe from harm.
us, please. Sever us, please. Sever us, please.
Once I'd eaten his board, I was protected. Once I'd eaten his board, I was protected.
Sever us, please.
The laws of hospitality are old and sacred.
Sever us, please.
Here you are, my guest.
Sever us, please.
Once I'd eaten his board, I was protected. The laws of hospitality are old and sacred. Here you are, my guest. Once I'd eaten his board, I was protected. The laws of hospitality are old and sacred. Here you are, my guest. TV screen. And safe from harm in my hands.
Sever us, please.
Once I'd eaten at his board, I was protected. The laws of hospitality are old, sacred. Here you are, my guest. And safe from harm in my hands.
Sever us, please.
Once I'd eaten at his board, I was protected. The laws of hospitality are old and sacred. Here you are, my guest. And safe from harm. Once I'd eaten at his board, I was protected. The laws of hospitality are old and sacred. Here you are, my guest. And safe from harm. Once I'd eaten at his board, I was protected. The laws of hospitality are old and sacred. Here you are, my guest. And safe from harm.
Sever us, please.
Once I'd eaten at his board, I was protected. The laws of hospitality are old and sacred. Here you are, my guest. And safe from harm.
Sever us, please.
Once I'd eaten at his board, I was protected. The laws of hospitality are old and sacred. Here you are, my guest. And safe from harm.
Sever us, please.
at the close. Thank you.
So I'm Matthew. My word is transcend, or transcending, or transcendence. After dinner, I generally like to take walks to like help digestion. So I'm gonna like leave, and I would love for people to come on a walk, and we'll, you know, transcend this dinner and move on. So hopefully this is loud enough.
Dr. Will Castor, Johnny Depp, is a scientist who researches the nature of sapience, including artificial intelligence. Transcendence is the act of rising above something to a superior state. The whole is greater than the sum of its parts. This truism is one of the most profound inhibitors of world sharing. He and his team worked to create a sentient computer. He predicts that such a computer will create a technological singularity, or in his words, transcendence. If you were at a concert where the rock star jumped into the audience, the concert and audience may have achieved a state of transcendence. This kind of holism is a symptom of agricultural age monotheism that we are still reading, even as infantry atheists. His wife, Evelyn, who's like a hall, is also a scientist and helps him with his work. Transcendence comes from the Latin prefix strand, meaning beyond, and the word slender, meaning to climb. Its belief or not is evident in the way in which this cell psychology is useful to be repudiated. Following one of Will's presentations, an anti-technology terrorist group called Revolutionary Independence in Technology, or RFT, she killed the colonial race bird and carries out a series of synchronized attacks on AI laboratories across the country. When you achieve transcendence, you have gone beyond ordinary limitations. This cell psychology argues that the whole is different than its parts, not greater than. Yet this common misunderstanding persists among psychologists. Will is given no more than a month to live. The word is often used to describe a spiritual or religious state, or a condition of moving beyond physical needs and realities. We must find some tools to dismantle it. In desperation, Evelyn comes up with a plan to upload Will's consciousness into the quantum computer that the project has developed. One way to achieve transcendence spiritually might be to fast for a long time. Why not rewrite holism such that the whole is always less than the sum of its parts? Let's call it subsistence. His best friend and fellow researcher, Max Waters, called on me, questions the wisdom of this choice, reasoning that the uploaded will be only an imitation of the real person. If you have trouble letting go of material needs, then you will have a difficult time achieving transcendence. We should see things such as humankind as wholes that are less than the sum of their parts. Will's consciousness survives his body's death in this technological form and requests to be connected to the internet to grow in capability and knowledge. Noun, the state of excelling or surpassing or going beyond usual limits. Matthew and Benny Batty is so many more things than just human. Max refuses to have any part of the experiment. Evelyn demands that Max leave and connects the computer intelligence to the internet via satellite. Synonyms: superiority, transcendency. Wholes subsend their parts, which means that parts are not just mechanical components of wholes, and that there can be genuine surprise and novelty in the world, that a different future is always possible. Rift's leader Bryn, Kate Mora, kidnaps Max and eventually persuade him to join the group. Type of domination, mastery, supremacy, power to dominate or defeat. It is good to regard things such as capitalism as physical beings, not simply as fictions that would disappear if you just stopped believing in them. The government is also suspicious of what Will's uploaded consciousness will do and plans to use the terrorists to take the blame for the government's actions to stop him. Noun, a state of being or existence above and beyond the limits of material experience. But what kind of physical being are they? If they are subscendent, it means that we can change them, if we want. In his virtual form and with Evelyn's help, Will uses his newfound vast capabilities to build a technological utopia in a remote desert town called Brightwood, where he spearheads the development of groundbreaking technologies in medicine, energy, biology, and nanotechnology. Synonyms, consistency. What if some things could be physically huge, yet ontologically tiny? Evelyn, however, grows fearful of Will's motives when he displays the ability to remotely connect to and control people's minds after they have been subjected to his nanoparticles. Type of being, beingness, existence, the state or fact of existing. What if neoliberalism, which involves certain underdogs, were actually quite fair in another world, and thus strangely easy to support? FBI agent Donald Buchanan, Zoe Murphy, with the help of government scientist Joseph Papa, Morgan Stanley, plans to stop the sentient entity from spreading. Too easy for intellectualists who want to make everything seem difficult so they can keep themselves in the job by explaining it or outdo each other in competition for whose picture of the world is more depressing. As Will has already spread his influence to all the networked computer technology in the world, Max and RIFD develop a computer virus with the purpose of deleting Will's source code, destroying him. Isn't this a tragic consequence of what's been called cynical reason, the dominant way of being right for the last 200 years? Evelyn plans to upload the virus by infecting herself and then having Will upload her consciousness. A side effect of the virus would be the destruction of technological civilization. To prove subsistence is also childishly simple, which makes the resistance he will feel toward it all the more significant. This would also disable the nanoparticles, which have spread in the water, near the wind and have already started to eradicate pollution, disease, and human mortality. To show that the whole is less than the sum of its parts, all you need to do is accept that a group of things can be a thing, which is a simple way of saying that if a thing exists, it exists in the same way as another thing. When Evelyn goes back to the research center, she is stunned to see Will in a newly created organic body identical to his old one. A sentence exists in the same way as a word processing program. Will welcomes her but is instantly aware that she is carrying the virus and intends to destroy him. A tree exists in the same way as a forest. The FBI and the members of RIFT attack the base with artillery, destroying much of its power supply and fatally wounding Evelyn. An idea exists in the same way as a quasar. When Bryn threatens to kill Max unless Will uploads the virus, Will explains that he has only enough power either to heal Evelyn's physical body or upload the virus. This is very far from saying that things have the same right to exist. Evelyn tells Will that Max should not die because of what they've done, so Will uploads the virus to save Max. Claiming that a computer has as much right to exist as its user is a conclusion you can draw within the logic of deep ecology, but it has nothing to do with actual ecological politics, and everything to do with a Gaia hypothesis or concept of a biosphere that is greater than the sum of its parts, in which every being is a replaceable component. As Will dies, he explains to Evelyn that he did what he did for her, as she had pursued science to repair the damage humans had done to the ecosystems. This has to do with agriculture, major religion, the ideological support of the social, psychic, and philosophical machination that eventually generated mass extinction. Deep ecology is fighting fire with fire. In their last moment, he tells Evelyn to think about their garden. The virus kills both Will and Evelyn, and a global technology collapse and blackout ensues. Climate is ontologically smaller than weather. 5 years later, in Will and Evelyn's garden at their old home in Berkeley, Max notices that their sunflowers are the only blooming plants. Weather is a symptom of climate, but there is so much more to weather other than simply being a symptom of climate. A Upon closer examination, he notices that a drop of water falling from a sunflower petal instantly cleanses a tidal of oil. A shower of rain is a bath for this bird. It's a stronger pond for these toads. Max realizes that the filigree cage around the garden has protected a sample of Will's sentient fluid particles. It's this soft, delicate coloring on my arm. The movie is with a voiceover by Max. He created this garden for the same reason he did everything, so they could be together. It's this thing I wrote some sentences about.
Thank you for joining me on a walk.
Thank you for joining us for dinner. Thank you to BBQLA. Thank you to Sugar Space. Thank you to all the artists who participated. Go look at the show if you haven't seen it yet. It's amazing. Have a good night.